So there was one thing Dave talked about, which was being self-sufficient and hunting. Do you see that as like you being self-sufficient?
Yes and no. Like I think ideally when I got into hunting, like it was because of COVID. Like I thought for sure that they were just gonna like shut the food down and everything. I didn't know anything about hunting getting into it though. So like during COVID is when I kind of like figured out like how to hunt, like how to, gut a deer, how to do all those things. And like I've learned so much in that period of time. But it was only that one thing. There's so much more to being self-sufficient than just like shooting an animal. Like you have to process it. Like you have to worry about like if, in doomsday scenario, you have to worry about water. You have to worry about shelter. You have to worry about all these things. So like everyone always says, and like, I guess, half jokes like, hey, like it's so great that you can do these things. That you have these skills. Like you could, when the grid goes down, you can take care of us. The truth is like, I'm just as screwed as you guys. Like I can shoot a deer, but then it's like, all right, I could probably process it, right? But then like, you got clean drinking water? Because I don't. That's, that's where it's going to be a problem. I don't know how to build anything, like I could put some twigs together. That might help, but like, I'm not, that self-sufficient in terms of like actually surviving off the grid.
But you don't have to go to like grocery store. You don't have to like.
No, but that's what I was going to get to. Like, it is really sick to be like, just, hey, you need meat, walk downstairs, grab like steaks, ground beef, or venison, I should say, but the ground version. And we save a lot of money on that, which is like actually really nice. I also don't want to like have any misconceptions here. Like if you're looking to get into hunting, it's going to be a lot of upfront costs. Like I thought for sure you could just be like, get the bow, get the arrow, go out there, shoot the deer. No, you're going to end up buying camo, ladder stands, just all different apparatuses to like make that hunting more enjoyable. So I think now I'm probably profitable in terms of like all in.
Wait, you don't say that. IRS is probably watching.
No, I mean, I'm not selling this stuff. Like there's no way. But like now I feel like I lost any money this year. Like I only spent money on broadheads, which were like, $60 for 3 versus the amount of deer meat I'm getting. Like I have an entire chest freezer downstairs, but I had to buy that chest freezer.
And if the electricity goes down, there goes your freezer.
Right. And that's the other thing about the self-sustainment. Like grid goes down. All right. I just lost all my deer meat. So I can only, like eat the things that are fresh. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. Like I want to be self-sustaining. Like I think that would be awesome, and hope like that's kind of my hope one day I can do that. But that takes a lot more skill than what I've developed so far in like the last like 4 or 5 years I've been bow hunting. But the bow hunting is like, it really has like amped up my hunting level because I only do bow hunting. So like if I needed to shoot a deer today, like I'm pretty confident if I went out there with the rifle within a day or two, I'd have one. Just ranges, because everything with a bow is within 25, 30 yards in the woods, because if like a branch nicks your arrow, like you're losing that deer, and that's not a fun experience. Like I hate losing deer more than anything in this world. Like it's not good.
Do you remember your first shot? The first deer you ever killed?
Oh yeah, it was euphoric. Like I've had so many failures with hunting, which is like why it's so near and dear to me, because it was something like that I was never ever good at first. Being an athlete my whole life, like anytime I picked up a sport, like I kind of got the gist of it pretty quickly. I didn't have too many struggles athletically, so when I wanted to do something, I was almost like a spoiled brat, where it was like I gotta, like I'm good at this, I'm gonna be good at this. But then I picked up the bow, and like the first time I ever pulled a bow back, like it slapped my forearm here. And anyone who's watching this who's like gotten into bow hunting because I've been an influence on them, like they know like that is a big like discouraging thing that can happen to you. But I just pushed through that and just missed a bunch of deer. Like luckily I never wounded any until I actually got my first one, because that could have really thrown me off early on. But I think I missed like my first 10 or 11 deer because I didn't understand the dynamics of like how the angle worked on the shot. So like when you go into a tree stand, you pull that bow back, right? If you just duck your first arm, like you've thrown off the line of your peep sight. Whereas like if you pull it back and just tilt your hip, you keep everything in line. But I'm completely self-taught, so I had no idea. And it took just like a lot of YouTube videos and like talking to other hunters, and I was like, why do I keep missing? And it was like the most frustrating thing in the world. So when I hit that first deer, it was like all of those failures, everything that I had put into it just washed away. And it was like the greatest thing. And I was like, I literally like said to myself in that moment, I was like, I am never not going to be doing this. Like every chance I get, I will be hunting because I've just been chasing that high ever since. And spoiler alert, you don't ever feel that way again. Your first year, like it, yeah. For my first like big buck, that I had a, you know, pretty similar reaction because I was like, oh yes, finally, like I got a nice buck, but nothing compared to that first year. So I'm just gonna be chasing that high the rest of my life. Maybe if I shoot like an elk or, you know,
something bigger.
Something bigger. I was trying to hunt a bear this year, but somebody got to it before I did. It was very frustrating. Ed, if you're watching this, you know I'm very mad.
Gonna be something to talk about.
I think we're all still very upset about the bear that I didn't get that thing in my hands, but it's okay. There'll be another bear, I'm sure.
Or you put Ed in the firing line and be like, just walk like a bear.
Yeah, definitely not. Never to my baby boy Ed. I love that guy. We have a good group of like blue belts right now at XCal. It's pretty sick. Ed being one of them.
August 14th, 2024.
August 14th, 2024.
That's when you got your black belt.
Was it the 14th?
If
I don't think that's right.
Okay, August 2024.
20th. August 20th. The reason I know that is because my family guilted me for not going to my grandmother's 90th birthday party that day. And I just had a sneaking suspicion that I was going to get my black belt, but I was not confident in that sneaking suspicion at all. But I was like, I can't potentially miss out on that. Like I don't, you know, my grandmother's had 89 other birthdays. You know what I mean? Like I've been to all of them, and I met up with her.
You've been to all of them?
Yeah, I've been to every single. Okay, not all 89, but all 28 that I've been around. I've been to all of them, and in spirit, I was at the other ones. But yeah, no, they gave me a bunch of for it, and so I remember that day not because I got my black belt, but because that's the day my family just decided to turn on me.
What's it like going from like, because what's his name again? You're the instructor you were under?
Kenneth Brown.
Kenneth Brown.
Yeah.
He said that you started as a white belt at second gear.
Yes.
And then moved up to black belt.
Yes.
How does that progression look like to you? Like from going white belt to blue belt to brown to purple to brown to black?
Honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with like attitude and confidence. Like I started telling myself like very early on that like we're all playing with the same tools. Like you're not worse than me or better than me because of anything other than your mindset. And I don't mean to sound like too like, I don't know what the right word here is, you know, yeah, or anything like that. But like you could just decide that like you're not going to let, you know, that work against you because you have something that you're super confident in. And if you just go in with that confidence, like you'll start to see like smaller changes. One of the things I noticed right now is like when I was a blue belt, everybody wanted to kill me because I was just a blue belt and no one cared. Everyone just like ran through me because I was a blue belt. But like as I started climbing up higher in the ranks, and I'm not going to say purple belt, but when I got to brown belt, I could sense there was something different against like my opponents where they just were like, oh, like this brown belt's going to smash me. And now, especially when I get up my black belt, like the most frustrating thing in the world is when I'm about to start a roll and somebody's just like, oh, you're going to kill me. I'm like, just let's let the roll happen. Like, just what are we talking about? Like, maybe or probably, who cares? Just roll with me. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to make it like this dialogue because you've already lost. The second you said that, I'm like, you're not going to give me your best effort. You're not going to get like, you're not going to try. You're not going to do the best for yourself. And like some of the killers that I face in the room, like, and I'm not even talking about like the Bobs or the Daves or the Hanis or whoever at Parker, like the blue belts, the ones who don't like give me that or who are just gunning after me, give me the best rolls. They give me the best looks. Purple belts too. Like all of those guys, the brown belts, like the ones who just don't assume that they lost before the round already started are giving me the most work. And it's because it's that mental thing that I was just talking about. Like you can't go into any role assuming you're going to lose. Like I don't care if you're a blue belt going up against like a Gordon Ryan or a Craig Jones, like go in there and try and win. I mean, don't pop into the B team and like, you know, try and win and like get kicked out or whatever. Don't be a jackass. But if you're going up against somebody that is better than you, like you owe it to them and to yourself to think you have a chance of winning. And you got to strategize that like based off of your skill set. So like if I'm a blue belt, I don't have many moves, right? Maybe you just focus on doing one thing the entire time, whether that be like just hold me in your closed guard. If you have one job, just hold me in your closed guard. Don't let me break your guard. And if I do break your guard, have a plan for that. But so many people are just like, oh, we'll see what happens. It's like, you can't do that when you're going against someone who's so much better than you. Like when I go against like a Bob or a Dave who I'm like regularly training with every single night, the nights I try and win, I get destroyed. Like that's when they just toy with me. But the nights where I'm like, all right, I just don't want Bob to do this, and I'm just gonna kind of, do what I can, but I'm not gonna try and really like push anything too hard. I'm just gonna try and like, take a little bit easy, see what he gives me, and not get got. I always end up doing a little bit better than what I would have done if I tried to be the instigator on somebody who's a lot better than me. And that's the experience that I've found so far.
Well, I do want to go somewhere with that, but this microphone keeps going down.
Nah, I'm doing a lot better at talking than I thought. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say.
You're gassed with something.
Dude, I'm telling you, I've had nothing but caffeine all day. I haven't eaten. I'm just ready to go.
When you were talking about all that, it's like when you're a beginner at anything, you have to have that patience to know that the best people have 40 years above you, have 20 years above you, have just more reps into it. But when you're at that black belt level, it's kind of like,
there's something to be said for somebody who can go in there every night regardless and still like, even if they're giving up mentally, like they're still doing it, which is a lot more than like what most people can say, like that they do with their, evenings. It's funny because like sometimes when like I'm injured or like I can't train, I'm just like, I don't understand what people are doing with all their time. Like I can't, like most people I know who don't do jiu-jitsu, like they don't have real hobbies. Like I don't consider lifting to be a hobby. Like it's just like something like it's
like a maintenance.
Yeah, it's like maintenance. But I'm like, most people just get off work and then just like go home. Like, what are you guys doing? So whenever I have that experience where I'm just like, I don't know, I can't train, I'm like, I don't know what to do with my time. It's I don't know, something interesting. What did you do before jiu-jitsu?
Are you interviewing me?
I'm just asking you a question. I thought we were supposed to have a conversation.
I know, I was going to ask before I did jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like sports-wise.
Yeah, just like for hobbies.
Well, I did shooting for a little bit. Realized I wasn't really a good shot. So I tried to switch over to something else. And I like jiu-jitsu just because it kind of goes against any fear that I have about someone coming against me and being like, I've got my hands on you. What do I do? It's more like some of the guys that like, especially the newer white belts that I've met, they come here to become like the alpha male, to become, I'm coming into here because I want to become dangerous. And I was like, I came here because I thought there was something new.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good mentality to have though. Like if you're coming into the room to try to be the alpha male, like
you're going to get destroyed.
Yeah, you're just going to hurt your ego as you leave 2 weeks later. That's why a lot of people I think probably don't last, is like they're trying to be the best too early instead of just kind of like embracing the system. I like the way I fell into jiu-jitsu, like I just decided one day I needed something to be like a little bit more competitive. Because I used to play football and then that kind of like got shut out of my life because I just, kind of walked away from it.
How would you say the difference between team sports and then jiu-jitsu? Because jiu-jitsu is mostly a solo sport.
Yeah, I mean, I've never done a solo sport before. This was the first time I'd ever done a solo sport. And that's honestly one of the things that I really think changed my life, or the trajectory of my life, is like, I always like depended on people so much in my life, like whether it be my parents or like the person I was dating or whatever it was. Like I was always very much so dependent on people, and I attribute that to playing team sports my whole life. But I had never wrestled. I'd never done like a solo sport like that. And I started doing jiu-jitsu, and I just started thinking to myself like, whoa, like I can do anything, because I know that I sucked at this at first, and now I'm getting better and I see that progress. And I was like, man, I can apply that same logic to anything that I do. So like, that's what gave me the confidence to just start bow hunting. I'm sure that's the same type of energy that you have when you're starting a podcast. Like before you started doing this, you didn't know jack about podcasts, did you? But you just started doing it. I think we live in a world where people think that they need to be the expert before they get started. Like, I don't know who's to blame for that one, but like sometimes you just got to put yourself out there on something that you are interested in or something that you want to do, and see where it takes you. Like you said, like you were doing the shooting that led you to jiu-jitsu, which maybe led you to this conversation here. Maybe that's what you're supposed to do. But if you were one of those people who just sat on their couch and never tried anything because you were, afraid of failing, or you just didn't want to put yourself out there, or you didn't want to just jump in before becoming the expert, then you just wasted your entire life.
I think one of the main problems is that people want that euphoric high of being the expert and having all of that knowledge instantly. because it's almost like the instant gratification of experience, but experience only comes through time, not so much just boom, it's 2-day shipping, Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to just pop up on your door.
I also think that there's something to be said about like how much it's like painful along the way. Like the more painful it is, the more enjoyable it really is. Like, I don't know, like there've been periods in my life where I've been like laid off from a job or something like that. And like, honestly, there's no worse time in my life because like, sure, I have all the free time and I'm doing the thing that I love. Like I'm spending more time doing jiu-jitsu than ever, or more time hunting than ever because I just have all this free time. But there's nothing like miserable along the way. And because I've already, you know, like gotten better at the hunting by this point in time, or like I'm not getting smashed every single day in jiu-jitsu. So if I don't have something that's just like dreadful to experience during the day, like I don't have that same satisfaction with jiu-jitsu or with hunting, wherever it is. And so to your point about the instant gratification, like if you're just showing up wanting to be good at something, you're not going to experience that true euphoric feeling of like becoming the expert. That's what's fun. Like it's so cliche to say like, oh, it's about the journey, not about the end result. Like, but it's true. Like if you can't find a way to enjoy the ride, like you're going to get to the top of the mountain and just be like, damn, what a waste of time.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the main elements to any like really good story is you have like order and you have chaos, two different people in any good story. And both characters have a desire. They have something that they want. They have what they want and what they need. What they want is something that's not going to make them a better person, but it's something that like a superficial desire. Something that's like, I want root beer. I want paper. I want a microphone. Then there's also the need, which is something that will make them a better person, but won't be necessarily something that's easy to obtain. It's not something that they want. So to the point of not everyone gets what they want. Like not the instant gratification is that people don't, like for me, I focus on the need. I focus on getting what I need because I know if I get what I need, I'll get what I want. But if I get what I want, I won't get what I need.
It's like drilling instead of rolling. You know, it's like you gotta do what you don't want to do. And that's, yeah, to your point, like if you're just doing the things you want to do, it's just like you might as well be, I don't know, like it's like your diet, like the same way. It's like you can't just eat what you want. You have to supplement with the things that are more important. And the struggle is one of those things.
Yeah, there's a quote. Forgot who it was. I always forget every podcast. There's a quote I know, but I forgot who said it. But the thing that will make you a better person is in the work that you're avoiding. Something like that. Something along those lines. It's like if you do what you're avoiding, like the things that you know will make you a better person, but you're avoiding them, you're not going to become that better person. You're just going to become. It's kind of like going back to maintenance. You can maintain yourself, and it could be like an incremental 9%, 10% maintenance. But if you really want to push through that 30%, you're going to do a lot more than just the regular maintenance. And then that new 30% is going to become your baseline. So it's always this like progressional interval. As you become better, it's not going to look like anything changed because almost like kind of like the human eye can only see up to like 2 miles or something like that, 5 miles.
You can see up to 5 miles? That doesn't sound right to me.
You can let's say you are on the top of the earth and you can see the horizon around you. Like that's the furthest your vision is, but the second you start walking, the horizon is starting to come closer on this side and expand on this side. So it's almost like an incremental as you keep going around. So it's like you don't see the progress, but then when you look back at where you were, now you can see, oh, there's been that much progress.
Yeah, I think like that I try and do with any new thing that I do now is just like to that point is like just get 1% better every day. Like I just started a new job. Not gonna name the job because I don't want any trouble there. But it's like very, very different than what I've been doing right now. Like I was in project management. I was working with my hands all day, like with people, not behind a desk, like almost up and moving 100% of the time. This is the exact opposite. It's a sales job, tech sales. So it's just like I'm sitting in front of the computer all day. I don't understand technology at all. Like I do not understand technology at all. The other day I put my browser in like full screen mode and I was just stuck there. I didn't know how to get out of it. I was like a monkey looking at this thing, like trying to, like I was getting ready to shake it and just like throw it on the ground because that's like the gorilla in me was thinking like, just break it. It'll feel better.
it'll fix itself.
Yeah. But I persevered. But the thing is, like, I had to remind myself, because truly this is like a serious challenge for me. Like, I don't understand technology. So every day I'm trying to just like get a 1% better. And guess what? I know how to close out of a full screen browser on a Mac now. I barely knew how to copy and paste on that thing. I learned how to do a bookmark the other day, and I was like, I'm a tech wizard. I was like, people will be calling me for IT support after this. Like,
I highly doubt that.
no, not at all. But like,
I knew how to do that on an iMac G4 back in like 2008.
okay, congratulations on being the biggest dork in the room. Like, I don't care. I don't know how to do tech stuff. But again, I'm just going to apply that same mindset that I've learned through my individual sports now, that I can just get 1% better. I'll get better at it. And by the end of the year, like, I don't know. I'm hoping I'll be able to like
Turn off the computer.
so yeah, like restart it or something. Like maybe I'll code something. I don't know. But it's crazy. Like I don't know how I've gotten this far in my life without using technology. Like I think I've been scamming everyone
you don't need
around
to.
me.
You don't need to.
I think you do. I think I'm really behind the mark. Like I think I'm very much so behind the mark.
A lot of people, at least on behalf of the stupid generation of today, which I can speak behind, a lot of the idiots that I meet are so stuck on technology, depending on technology to make their lives efficient, they don't realize that the best things that they need is outside of the phone. Like a phone, a computer, software is a tool.
Yeah.
It makes people 20 times more efficient, but also there's so many things that are distracting that if you don't like mentally disconnect from, hey, so like whenever I'm doing research or something, I'll take whatever's on my computer or on my phone or whatever, and I'll put it onto a document, and then I'll print out the document and then work it out on paper. So I can switch out from my computer to paper to my computer, and I'll just go through that cycle until I have something new. But I know if I'm always staring at my computer 60 frames per second bouncing into my eye, all that blue light,
Yeah.
24/7 or like 7-8 hours a day, that's going to destroy my eyes.
Dude, it's not natural.
It's not.
Well, I mean, we might slowly but surely be evolving for it to become more natural.
It's
Like,
going to take like a million years.
yeah, dude, it honestly does scare me. I don't think we can keep going at the rate we're going. Like, I think it's going to get to the point where it's just like too much. I'm already at that point where I feel like it's too much, like genuinely. Like there's certain things that we do where I'm just like, I don't even like going to self-checkout anymore. Like I hate it. Every time I go in there, there's a problem. Like the thing doesn't scan right, or it needs an ID. And I'm like, why am I working for Giant? Like, I feel like I'm the employee, like doing this job, and I'm just frustrated. Instead of just having to have that conversation with the cashier and be like, hey, how's your day going? Like so many people are afraid to have that conversation now. And now we've grown away from that, that discomfort. We are working for Giant. And like, I'm tired of it. I don't want to keep doing that. Like,
Well, that's why you hunt deer.
yeah, I mean, I guess I still have to get like milk and stuff though,
Then just get a cow.
I would love to get a cow.
Stuff it in your closet or something.
This is significantly less city somehow than where I grew up. Like, I don't know if it's less city, but it feels like it's a little bit more spread out.
It's like a suburban city.
I'm ready to give all of that up, like the convenience portion of everything, for just a little bit more country life. Like, I'd love to have a cow, chickens, like just do more natural things, because I just can't take this technology stuff anymore. Like,
There's one thing that Dave talked about yesterday, that if you go out of planet Earth and you're looking down from like a satellite point of view, and you're seeing, and it's nighttime on that side of the Earth, and you see all the lights, you're not seeing population density, you're seeing wealth. So all the lights, it could be a very low population density, but there's a lot of money there. And then you see like the Midwest, the Central America, and there's like very few lights. And then you go to California and you can see a lot more lights. And I think it's kind of interesting how the more wealthy a country becomes, the more like spread apart the people become, because they have more of convenience. They have more of the instant gratification, easy. Like you can go on social media and like 4 hours later you have this like dopamine high of just so like cringy TikToks or dogs all the time, and it's like you sap out all that dopamine, and like where can you put that in the real world? Nowhere. So your brain just like, hey, let me go back to social media to get that same dopaminic high, and it's like it's this.
yeah,
It's almost, I think they call it like a dopamine.
it's an addiction. I mean, just like anything else. Like, it's like this caffeine. Like, it's you're constantly dosing up. You're an addict. Like, and I'm definitely guilty of this. Like, I'm an addict 100% on dopamine from my phone, because it's like I get everything that I like want to be doing, I can see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You want to go to the Alps, you can see that.
Right. It's weird. It's like I can, you know, if it's not hunting season, I can still watch hunting videos. It's like I'm still there, or you know, whatever it is. It's like I'm constantly getting that, but it's like I don't think we've built in our society enough systems to like pull away from that. You know what I mean? Like if I decided right now I'm going to put my phone down, like what am I going to be doing the rest of the time? Because it's not like I can go outside and just talk to a neighbor. I mean, I could, but they'd be like, get away from me, freak. I want to play on my phone. You know what I mean? Like that's what everyone wants to do. So like until like the entire like society wakes up and like people start hanging out outside and like barbecuing outside and just like being more open to those like invitations of being like neighborly and like, you know, friendly again, like we're kind of stuck looking at our phones because it's like, damn it, I don't want to do this, but if everyone else is doing it, what else am I going to do? And now I'm just like participating in the meme culture. That's the only reason I have social media, is to send ridiculous memes to people. Like I don't like it for anything else.
Yeah, that's something I started learning when I started doing the podcast, like over the last couple months, is that kind of like team sports versus single sports, you just can't depend on someone else to be there when you really need it. So like, obviously I don't care about people. I'm pretty sociopathic, other than like one-on-one talks. I'll tell you that. I'll put this live on camera. I'm a sociopath.
Why though? Why do you think you're a sociopath?
Not like a literal sociopath.
No, I know.
But it's kind of like George Washington's quote, it's better to be alone than to be with bad company. Like I would rather be with myself, go on a walk. One of the episodes I did with Roderick Harris, great guy. One of the things he mentioned was to date yourself, to find out what you like to do, find out what you want to do. Go outside, go for a walk, go to your favorite restaurants, find out what you like to do, and then people will naturally be attracted to that.
Interesting.
Because you'll be so confident in your own skin that people will just be like, oh, this person has their life together. Or not even life together. It's just they have that level of confidence.
I don't think I need to date myself. I think I'm stupid and simple. Like honestly, like I really genuinely mean that.
Well,
like
it's not like every, like you don't have to literally date yourself. Just
well,
like,
no, I know I'm not gonna be like hooking up with myself later. Like I get that part. I'm not that dumb, but like, you know, like I prefer just like, you know, cheeseburger over any, like I don't want to try new foods. Like I'm confident in that. You know what I mean?
Find something else you like. If you like going hunting, just sit in a tree for like 10 hours.
I mean, I do that. That is hunting.
I mean, I need to do that. I look like a monkey. So like,
dude,
that
with
would be
my ears
perfect.
now, I absolutely look like a monkey.
I can hear everything in like 7-channel Dolby Atmos with like 2 subwoofers.
Damn. Yeah, the other day my back was hurting on the mats, and I was like, I like rolled myself forward and I like had my fists on the ground because I was trying to like do that. And Diego came up to me and he was like, dude, you look like a gorilla right now. You need to stop that. And I was like, it's the only thing that makes my back feel better. I was like, I need a chiropractor. I'm constantly in back pain. Yeah, I had a conversation with somebody today at the 6 a.m. class. It was pretty funny. They were like, it was one of the newer girls. I think her name is Laura or something like that. And I was white belt. And I was complaining about my back. And she was like, oh, you're too young to be complaining about your back. And I was like, I got jiu-jitsu years. Like I was like, you don't understand. Like I've been doing this like enough to the point where I feel like I'm 50 years old. Like, and I know it's all going to come crashing down one day, but whatever. But then she tried to combat it with like, oh, well, I've done parkour for, you know, so many years. And I was like, we are talking about 2 different things here. Like a jump around the, whatever, like a bicycle ring or whatever they do. I don't know. Is very different than like someone much bigger than you just smashing you. And for most of my jiu-jitsu, I was actually smaller. I was like probably 35 pounds smaller when I started. So I was like 185.
Yeah. One of the most fascinating things is that all the older grapplers, like 50s, 60s, 70s, they're all really youthful.
Oh yeah.
And it fascinates me. I know
Qua, shout out to Qua. I think he's like
almost 50
years old.
Well,
I was like, I thought this guy was 35.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I was just like treating him like he wasn't 50 years old. And then I started to feel bad. I was like, Jesus, someone told me like, damn it, like Qua's really like in great shape for being like over 50 or 50 or whatever he is. And I was like, holy shit, I thought he was 35. Like he looks great. And like, to your point, like everybody who does jiu-jitsu, like even though like I was just complaining about like the injuries and all that stuff, like they are like super, super youthful. Like you said, like super athletic still. Like I know 40-year-olds who have trouble, like they're out of breath walking upstairs. And then you look at somebody like Bob and Dave, who are also like 40 years old. And it's like, how are you two the same thing as this guy?
I think one of the biggest health concerns right now well, maybe not the biggest, like one of the major problems that are causing a lot of the health problems is people sitting down, because we're not meant to be sitting down for hours at a time. Like I sit down and like I get tired, my legs start getting numb, and then I have to go on the treadmill for like an hour just to walk it off, and even that doesn't get the cortisol levels down. And it's almost like, I mean, jiu-jitsu is great and all, but I feel like if I keep this up, I'm going to be like crippled by the time I turn 25.
So I think the thing is there's like a breakthrough point, which I think happens at brown belt. It's like this stereotype in jiu-jitsu that people talk about all the time, where it's like, you know, blue belts quit, right? Purple belts skip warm-ups. Brown belts are always injured. And then I don't know what they say for black belts. But when I was brown belt, I was getting injured all the time because I was like, I think when you get to that level, and I don't mean like time or like skill. I really mean like experience, like time on the mats. Like I think that's when your body is like, we can't do this anymore. Like if we continue this, we're gonna break. But if you push beyond that, that's where I feel like you reach this like promised land of I'm not gonna say injury free, because I'm sure they still happen all the time. But like as soon as I broke through that, the injuries were less and less. And like I still have back pain. I still have like little things that nag me here and there. But knock on wood, like I haven't had any like major problems since. And so I think sometimes you just have to push through that hill, and eventually the injuries will stop. So like don't ever quit because you think like you're not gonna be able to walk when you're 45 or whatever it is. Like there's plenty of people who are still doing it. Like look at Jeff Thomas, like guy's a killer. I don't know how old he is, but
He's older than me.
Older than me, yeah.
Older than probably both of us combined.
I don't know. I don't want to put Jeff on the spot like that. I don't know. I really don't. But actually, you're probably right. I think we could definitely agree that he's over, like, 50.
I'll make a short out of this specifically just so he can see it.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one, I don't know if it was David Goggins or some like fitness, like big fitness person, that once you like, when you're doing like a workout, like running, weights, whatever you're training, and you get to the point where you're like, I need to stop, you're only 60% done. Like there's another, like you have another 40% to actually, until you're actually done. And I would go on the treadmill for like I usually walk. I love walking outside, going to the forest, just walking next to like the Algonquin Regional Park, just walking right next to the Potomac. It's so relaxing. The white noise and everything. It's beautiful.
You ever go fishing over there?
I don't know how to fish.
We can teach you how to fish.
Yeah, well,
I learned how to fish this summer, honestly. Another shout out to Ed. Now he really did like teach me how to fish, and it was awesome. It was like the best thing that I could ever done. It was like my connection with the outdoors during the summer had been restored. It's so much fun. And you can still do that, like hiking through the trails to get to your fishing spot. Very similar. So we'll teach you how to fish.
Yeah. And then I went on I like the last 4 or 5 weeks, I've barely walked. Like my phone is like, dude, you need to walk more. And then I went on the treadmill, and the first 30 minutes, I was almost out of breath. I was like sweating, like I have my jacket on, but still I started to sweat. And then I kept going and going. 2 miles in, I felt like this was a breeze. I don't know what I was complaining about at half a mile. And it just becomes like that level of resistance, just push through that because I know it's something good for me. It just becomes so much easier because my brain's like, okay, I can't resist this anymore.
Yeah, it's like your body wants to quit as soon as it can. Like as soon as it can.
That comfort level.
Yeah, if you, like but it's weird that like genetically we're not programmed to want to push past that. Like we're like, it's almost like we're all natural quitters, which is a weird thing because like we've made it this far, like survival mode, like, but we want to quit so easily. I don't know why that is.
Or it might be like settling. Like we weren't probably built to be always exploring, to always keep pushing past, to like finally settle, farm, to have a community.
I also wonder if it's something that is just like you don't need to be running, so your body knows that, and it's like, why am I running? It might be like an energy like conservation thing where it's like, I mean, I'm just guessing. Like I am as dumb as shit when it comes to like all this stuff. Yeah, but if I'm thinking about it out loud here, like it might just be one of those things where it's like you're just saving you're just saving your body energy, and that's why you want to quit, because it's not a need. But I guarantee you, if you had your child or your pet or something stuck under a car and you couldn't lift it, that's why people are able to do that, because it's like that's that need. Your brain decided that it needed that. So it's like you constantly have to trick your brain to be like, we need this.
I think we're thinking about the same story. The woman whose son was underneath the car.
I don't think that story's real. I don't know why. I just don't think that story is real because I think we would talk about it more and I think that we would know her name. Like, look it up after this. Like, pull up another link or something. I don't know if you know how to merge that because I'm not a tech guy. I know you are. But, like, that story can't be real. How many stories do you think there are out there right now?
A lot.
Well,
a lot.
Yes.
A lot.
But things that we tell people as fact that just aren't. Like, you know that story about the woman spilling the hot coffee on herself? And, like, that's why there's, like, that suing culture. Apparently it was, like, a legitimate case. But my entire life, I just thought it was just some lady being a trying to make some extra money. Like, it's really what I thought.
Oh, I'm gonna have to bleep out so many parts of this.
Yeah, don't bleep it out. Let the people hear it. This is a PG-13 plus audience for sure.
I don't mind swear. I don't mind like other people swearing. I just wouldn't swear myself. So I'll probably.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah,
I'm doing my best not to swear. I think I've only sworn like 3 or 4 times, which is pretty good.
I do like the warmer tones though, because you have the American.
This is the only room in my house that we've like paid any attention to. And it's because this is like the only room that I care about. It's like we painted it. No other room in the house is painted. Like, I put all my deer in this room. Like, we put our Christmas tree in this room. Like, one day we'll start working on the rest of the house.
I've been to some houses, like modern look, clean. There's like, they don't have unnecessary stuff. And then there's people who just have so much stuff and it distracts from the purpose of it being a home.
Do you think they're filling their home up because they're missing things in their like soul?
It might be the fear of not have, let's see, what's that quote? It's better to have something and not need it than need it and not have it. So some people might, I'm not saying like that explicitly quote, there we go. That explains everything. It's more of some people have the desire to keep taking because they might need it. They might have it. But in the event that they do need it, they don't actually know how to use it. Like, there's some people who have firearms but don't know how to use it. Like, they like basic firearm safety, don't know anything about it, but they have it just because they might need it.
Yeah, I wonder how many people, what percentage of people actually know how to use their firearms or the weapons that they get.
On one hand, there is you could say that because there's no like test that's required for you to buy a firearm, that like anyone can buy a firearm.
You have to pass a gun safety, right? All right. Well, I guess not for shotgun,
concealed
rifle.
carry.
Yeah,
concealed carry you do, but
or handgun in Maryland, I know.
The thing is, like, people buy things just because they have the illusion that they might become something that they're not, but they don't actually put in the effort. Like, there's some people, let's say that they bought like an entire bag of golf clubs. They're like, I'm going to start doing golf. And they buy this entire bag of golf clubs with everything that you need, only to know nothing about how to use any of them. And then it becomes like this little, oh, hey, you do golf? No, I just bought that and thought it would look.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm definitely guilty of that, but it's a step for me to follow through. You know what I mean? Like, I use it almost like as an accountability tool where it's like, all right, I spent money on this. Like, I better figure out how to do it. Honestly, when I got into fishing over the summer, like, Ed was getting me into fly fishing, not just like regular fishing. So I was like, the only way I'm going to commit to this is if I go out and buy the rod, because then if I have the rod, I have no excuse not to use it. But yeah, you're right. There are a lot of people who like buy things just to like get started and then be like, actually, I don't think this is for me.
I think the best thing, especially like whenever I try to do something new, is to buy only what's necessary. So kind of like to Dave's point of efficiency over being effective. In my opinion, in order to just like get familiar with what it is, because the biggest thing to end starting anything new is the education, is to that learning curve of the first step. Like for golf, the only thing I can use is a 7-iron, and I can barely use that well.
Do you play a lot of golf?
No.
Okay.
But the only thing I can use, like,
but you bought the clubs?
We bought one really good quality 7-iron. There's 3 levels of the 7-iron that I was looking at. There was the basic one, the basic model, like a mid-tier, and then a high-end. And like, do you know golf in general?
I got like an idea.
Okay. Well, on the flat side of the club, there's a little like circle, almost like a circle. If you hit right there, it will go exactly where you want it to go in the direction you want to go to in the highest, like the best speed. Like there's this like one area, maybe not circle, but there's just like the ideal spot.
Man, I wish someone would have told me that. Like the last time I was at like a Top Golf or like a driving range or something. I had no idea.
Yeah, like if you hit it at the edge, it's going to start flipping out. If you hit it at the base, it's going to, like, there's this one like sweet spot. And I tried it on all 3. As it got better. That sweet spot decreased, but the amount of power accuracy that you got from that sweet spot was so much better as it went up. And so there's a lot of leniency as like for like the basic ones are more forgiving. As you go up, it becomes less forgiving. And the one thing I ended up getting the highest tier because the one thing I felt when I swung that club was that every time it told me, this, you're screwing something up, try to fix it. Remember what you learned from the five classes that you did. But I always get that feedback from either the vibrations in the club or the way my posture was or whatever. But I could feel that. I could feel it. It's telling it. I'm not being delusional here, but there's that feedback loop. If I got the lower tier, it's more like, oh, you kind of got it right. Next time, do a little bit better. The one top tier is like, okay, it's almost like a German. Like, you will get this right or you're going to screw up. And that's why I bought it, because I knew that pushing that or getting that feedback from a good quality club is so much better than cheaping out on it and not doing it. Of course, I'm not going to buy the entire set because I don't know how to use the other ones, but I know how to use a 7-iron really well, or relatively well.
That's interesting. I wonder if the bow like that I shoot has that same kind of thing where it's like if you're not super good at shooting the bow, it's going to be
probably.
Yeah, that's interesting, because it would be astounding to me if golf was the only industry where that worked. And there was a point in time actually where I felt like I was shooting better with one of my lesser like quality bows, and it's probably just because it was more user friendly. And then I kind of got better, and it kind of worked itself out because I forced it. I made it work.
Well, it's like firearms. The better quality the gun, the more accurate, the nicer it is to feel, the more the gun's doing the work for you.
Right.
And that is one thing about golf, is that when you swing the club, you're not putting the force behind the club. You're letting your momentum hit the club. Like there's been every time whenever I like put muscle behind it, when I try to like really hit that ball, it'll go, I don't know, like 50 yards, 60 yards. If I had just let my body go with it and just relax all my muscles and just hit it, that thing went so far, so high, and so precise. It is, I get scared every time because I keep forgetting to just loosen up.
I feel like every single time I have a golf ball in my hand or a golf club in my hand, I try and whack the out of it, and it works 50% of the time.
Well, you got more muscle.
Sure. But it works 50% of the time. And when it connects, I'm like, this makes it all worth it. Anything else, I don't care about. Like if I had to sit there and just like, all right, I'm just gonna try and dink this in, like I would be like, just kill me now. Like take me back to the greenhouse or whatever it's called. Like I just want to crack it as hard as I can every single time. It makes golf way more fun. And anyone who's about to pick up golf should take that advice because it'll carry them.
It's one important lesson that I keep forgetting, which is the more relaxed I am about something, the more result I get out of it. And it's not just being relaxed once, it's being able to do, what was it? Like you can do something once.
Definitely true.
Well, but if you can do it 3 more times, you become more like then it's the rule of the power rule
of threes. Yeah.
First is a rare occurrence, second is a coincidence, third is a pattern. If you can do it 3 times, then you've got something. If you can only do it once, where you want it to go, that doesn't mean anything.
So funny enough, I've been tombstoning people in the gym.
What's that?
It's where you just like pick them up. Like you never seen the WWE with
and then you just
you just like pretend to drop them on their head.
Oh, okay.
So I've hit my 3rd one now, which means according to the rule of 3, I should be allowed to teach this.
Didn't you do that on me?
I might have done that on you.
I think you did it on me.
But I also
you definitely did it on me.
Okay, so I hit it 4 times now, and Tim was one of them. Same size, so it's not a size thing. Hit it on Rob Julian, brown belt. So he's a bigger guy, but he's also a brown belt. So we're not going to call it a skills thing anymore. And I hit it on you and then someone else today. So if so fact so, I'm teaching that next chance I get. And it's I don't know why, it's just so much fun. I truly like, there's nothing I love more than just doing like anti-jiu-jitsu. Like I just think it's the most fun thing in the world. Like when I just stand up or whatever it is, I'm just like, I don't know why, it's just way more fun because it's like you're just watching somebody's like whole world crash down around them where they're like, but I had the triangle. It's like, no, I just stood up. What are you going to do now? I don't know why. I just think that's really fun. It's yeah. I try and just break all the rules. Dave actually kind of got me onto that early on. He was like, know enough so that you can break the rules or something to that degree. And I was like, I heard that and I was like, all I'm going to do is try and break the rules now. Like, I just want to be a rule breaker. It's way more fun. Like, we're all just wrestling in pajamas anyway. Like, why am I taking this so seriously? I think like when I started doing jiu-jitsu, and not that long ago, like 7 years ago, I started doing jiu-jitsu. I felt like the vibe of jiu-jitsu was like super serious. Whereas like the last 2 years, it's been like, let's just have fun. Like, we're all just here just having fun. And like, I think he's really like shocked the culture in that. And I can't say I appreciate it enough. Like, it's awesome. It's like, it's way better. Even the difference between CJI and ADCC, like this year, ADCC, I don't know what the acronym, Abu Dhabi Combat Club, something like that, and then just the Craig Jones Invitational. This year, I was watching both because they were happening at the same time, strategically by Craig, so that like he could interfere with ADCC so he could get the athletes more money. That's the backstory. But I was watching with people, both jiu-jitsu athletes and non-jiu-jitsu athletes, and everybody was tuned in to CJI. Like, it didn't matter who was on for ADCC. Like, even the people who were like blue belts, purple belts that were watching with me were like, yeah, okay, that's great. Like, whoever's out there is whatever. But when like something happened at CJI, people were locked in for that. People wanted that because it was just more entertaining. It was more fun. It was like, to your point before about just like keeping it relaxed and keeping it loose, like that culture is a way more sustainable culture, I think, for average Joes. Like you want to build your revenue for your gym that you're planning on starting up, like take a little bit of that and keep the dead Brazilians back in Brazil. You know what I mean? Like, they were just, it's a little bit too much for me.
They were good for their time.
They were great for their time. I mean, they made it to where it is now, but like, let's just make it more fun. You know, we don't need to prove to the world that jiu-jitsu is effective anymore. We should just be doing it and having fun, having a couple beers afterwards. You know, like that's the whole game we're playing now. And it's way cooler than, like I said, where I started off, where, you know, I'm not saying this because my old gym was like super serious by any means, but it was more like the culture. Like, I'm talking about like what I would see on Instagram, or like how people would talk about it, like other people in other gyms. Like, it was very much so around like this respect, tough guys. And it's like, sure, okay, yes, but we also have soccer moms. Like, we also have like other people who are just like here because it's a social club for them. Like, and that's fine too. And so I think loosening up on that kind of culture is both good and bad, really.
I think it has to do a lot with cognitive load. Like, the brain can only retain so much information at any given time. And if it's like, if you take like the traditional education system, the more you learn, the more it's like a tedious, okay, we're going to spend an hour sitting down and learning this thing, rather than, all right, 15 minutes, take a break, 15 minutes, take a break, 15 minutes, take a break. Your brain can process the information because it takes time to grow the neurons to be, or not grow, but like to get all the connections made. And not some people, but a lot of the more popular educational systems, a lot of like the big name professors and such that like from like Stanford University, like there's Andrew Huberman, there's
Matthew McConaughey,
there was Professor Feynman, like the people who made education of complicated topics really simple. They made it enjoyable. They had the energy, they had the excitement. When they were excited, people were excited. And it's like, a lot of the gyms, or a lot of the traditional ways of teaching is so monotonous. It's so like discipline oriented, which is good.
Yeah,
because a lot
people
of
need that.
Yeah, people really need that. A lot of, especially younger kids or people my age who don't have that discipline. Like, you have to beat it into them because there's no other way to learn it. You can be like, yeah, I practice discipline. No, this is what discipline actually looks like. It's being alone, being by yourself, being away from other people, but also still have the cognitive load to have fun with what you're doing.
Is that what discipline means to you? Like, being alone to like figure things out, to like
discipline,
put in work?
It's like what I like. It's what I say. I hate routines, but I love consistency. I find discipline has to do a lot with consistency. You just keep doing the same thing over and over and over, but not to the point of insanity, what's the difference?
There's a fine line there.
Yeah. Insanity is doing the same thing multiple times and expecting a different result. The consistency of getting an extra 1%, extra 2% every day. But that's something that's like, it's something that can't be taught. It has to be learned. You can teach someone that, oh, you need the consistency, but if someone doesn't have that internal drive to want to do that consistent thing every day, then it's kind of useless to teach it.
My thing is for discipline for me is if you say something, like if you say you're going to do something, like for the most part, you got to just stick to that. Like if you have a goal or whatever that goal is, like you have to just commit and be like, I'm going to do this because I want it, you know? And it's like, I think a lot of people just have that, you know, fake discipline of like, I'm just going to do this when I feel like it. And it's like, you can't do that and still be like, have that, I don't know, like be a dog. Like you got to be a dog about things. Like if you want something, you got to do it. And it doesn't matter what gets in the way of that. You have to push things out of the way to achieve your goals. And it can be like simple things. Like the amount of times I've said like, oh, I can't go out tonight because I'm going to train on Saturday. Or, hey, like I'm coming home late because I got to, you know, pick up this extra class and teach and get my reps in on that. Like whatever it may be, it's because I said I wanted to do it. And I started that 7 years ago and just continued for it. And I think you just have to keep doing that again with everything. Like, again, this is a perfect example. And we'll see, you know, maybe we'll do this podcast in 5 years. And I hope to God that I can say that I'm at the same job doing the same thing. And I'm just a tech wizard right now because I want to do it. I'm telling you right now.
You finally know how to install an app.
Let's not get carried away. But I'm saying right now, like live for whoever might listen to this, that like this is something I want. Like I want to do this because it's a skill that I need to develop. It's obviously an area in my life that I need to like improve upon. Can I do it? We'll see. I think I will because I have the tools that I've not perfected, but I've, you know, improved on, or I've developed over the last couple of years doing these other things that I've really enjoyed. How can I apply that to something that I don't really like necessarily have an interest in, but know that needs to be done?
There's one thing when you were talking about that, about like how you say no to not doing something at night, or because you know there's something in the future. It's kind of like, in a way, it's not about it's not about doing the right thing. It's about knowing what's right. But it's also the power of no. It's not about saying no to things. It's about saying the right things, saying no to the right things. Because you could say no to something that's really important, or it's someone that's really important because it's mostly beneficial.
My grandmother's 90th birthday.
And those 89 birthdays that you missed.
Sorry, Mimi. I couldn't make it. Like truly, like I had to say no because I had been putting my own work in for something for so many years, and I'll probably never hear the end of that. I truly, but I had to say no. Like, what else am I going to do? Not get my black belt?
It'll be your 90th birthday and no one's going to show up.
If I'm 90 years old, like I'm first off, if I'm 90 years old, like I'm having the best 90th birthday ever.
If I'm still alive, I'm still bringing some energy drinks.
No, I am actually like definitely terrified of getting old though. Like legitimately terrified because
you're how old?
28.
28?
Yeah, but like I think something happens when you start to slow down a little bit. Not that I've like slowed down. I still like am in my athletic prime. I think by technical standards, I think it goes to like 30, maybe 32.
Well, masters Jiu-Jitsu masters 30. Like 30. So
it's like, but I've noticed other things like my recovery rate. It's not as good. And it's like, man, I am more human than I thought. Like when you're young, you're like, oh, like that's.
Why do you think I'm drinking caffeine now?
Yeah, it's like that's tomorrow's problem though. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to worry about that right now. But like you start seeing that tomorrow's problems are today.
But that's why you do that now, because you're going to cherish those memories for later.
Yeah, but what do you do then?
Well, then you become a bum.
Yeah, I guess that's right. I mean,
bum energy. This video is a heck of a lot better than getting Red Bull.
Oh yeah, I mean
that stuff is just filled with junk.
Yeah, dude. Back in college, we used to drink like Red Bull vodkas, and like this is why I'm like 90 is not achievable. You know what I mean? Like the things that I did to my body between like the self-inflicted wounds, you know, like the Red Bull vodkas, and then just the environmental wounds that I've, you know, participated in, like the microplastics, all the seed oils that I have eaten my entire life, like 90's out of the question.
But if you get there, we got a plan.
Yeah, we do have a plan. It's going to be sick. We're going to have a great time.
Being someone that you're not, that's one of the things we talked about. I think you were relating it to your time in college.
Yeah. My time in college was weird because I didn't know what to do with myself. Like my whole identity growing up was football, right? Like, so my grandfather played in the NFL. He coached for the NFL. He's got multiple Super Bowl rings. His son played at Maryland, has a national championship with them. Um, my other cousin went to Alabama. My other cousin went to Wake Forest. Like the other one goes to Maryland, all football scholarships. Like the whole family is diehard football. I get to college and I'm like, I'm so tired of this. Like, I don't want to do football anymore. Like it was too serious in high school. I just want to like leave it alone. Like I just wasn't in love with it the same way that I obviously am with like a jiu-jitsu or a bow hunting or whatever it is. And so during that period of time, I was like, shit, I gotta figure out what to do with my time. Like I was one of those people who was like, after class, it was like, oh, I get to do nothing now. And I was excited for that, but nothing just turned into like partying.
An idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Yeah. And so I like just got into partying for 2 years. And then I was like, oh my Lord, like I'm wasting my life. Like I hate this. We're going to the same bars, hanging around with the same people. Like I was like, this is what the recipe for being a loser looks like in 30 years. And like I looked, and when you're 18 at a bar, greatest thing in the world. You're like, this is awesome. Like you're hanging out with like 35-year-old dudes, like who seem cool. They're telling you about their businesses and you're like 18, you're a dumbass. You're like, this is what cool people look like, until you're like, wait a second. Why are you at the same bar as me? Why are you talking to an 18-year-old right now? You weirdo, get away from me. You know what I mean? Like, and you start to realize these things and you're like, oh man, like I got to turn my life around. I got to surround myself with just better people. And so during that time, I realized that I was spending like the first 2 years of my college experience just like trying to fit in because I didn't know what I was supposed to be. And I was just doing a lot of what I ultimately like never enjoyed or like ever saw myself doing. And that's when Jiu-Jitsu comes into the picture. That's when I started to kind of search for more out of my life. And that's kind of what has led me onto the path. And like, I feel it's like my, really like my freedom of like being myself. Because I found that thing and I realized that I could do whatever I wanted to do. And I just had to put the same skills again that I learned here to anything. I could become anything that I want. I was always confident, but I didn't really have anything to be confident about. Like it was just made up, Now I can at least say like, hey, I've done hard things and I can achieve hard things. And I carry a different sense of confidence, a way less arrogant sense of confidence because of that.
And I have a question on that one. If you can be anything, why not just be a bum or be a loser? Why do you choose to push yourself to become a better person?
Well, because I think anyone can become a bum. Like I think it's incredibly easy to become a bum. Like it also gets old. I think I've lived that life. Like I was a bum for 2-3 years in college. Like luckily for me, it was just in college and it didn't happen later in life. Like I think that's why some people go to college, is to get that out of their system, to be like, and maybe they don't even know that they're doing this. It could be like a subconscious thing that they're, experiencing, where it's like, you wake up hungover for the third day in a row and you're about to go drink again. And it's like, oh my Lord, like I don't want my life to look like this. Like I hate this. I hate this feeling. I hate the way I'm depending on this thing for fun. Like I used to, like coming out of college, I used to think like the only way to have a social interaction was with a drink in your hand. Unless I had somebody that was, I was really good friends with. Like if I was going to like a party or a networking event, it was like I had to have like 3 or 4 drinks just to get through that. Now I don't need any of those things. And it's a blessing, obviously. Like I never had a problem. Like I was never weird about it. Like I was never showing up to work drunk or like doing anything like that. But you have this like crutch at this period of time, because you're just like, how do I function without it? Because I'm doing so much of it during that, college experience.
Was having the drink in hand kind of a shield for the insecurities that you had inside?
Yeah.
Or hiding the fact that you don't know who you are?
Probably. Yeah. You could blame anything that you did on that. I think that's what a lot of college kids do. They can act a fool and then they can blame it on booze. And it probably is that, where it's like, hey, I actually don't know who I am. I don't know who I'm supposed to be at this party. You're trying to like talk to girls, you're trying to make friends, you're trying to like do all these like kind of challenging things for a young mind. And you're nervous, you're scared. Like, it was the first time in my life that, again, like things weren't coming easy. It was maybe the first time that I was just like, man, like I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. Like I had went to college and kind of basically just got dropped off at the front door, and then it's just like, all right, you're on your own now, figure it out. And I'm like, all right, well, I don't really know anyone here. I knew one guy, and I actually knew my fiance kind of, and we met up on like the first day of college. So I had like a few people that I knew, but like not intimately. And so you're just trying to fit in, and you're trying to figure these things out. And, you know, you have a couple beers and all of a sudden things start getting a little bit easier. You're talking to people, people are more friendly to you. And then, you know, next thing you know, 4 years have gone by and you've spent every weekend just drinking at the same bar with the same people instead of learning like one skill. I can't tell you a single class I took in college, but I'm, you know, good friends with a lot of those people still. I'm not saying that it's a waste of time or that like I regret anything that I did in college, because it made me who I am. I needed to have those experiences to want to push forward and not be a bum.
Curious, just because you brought up being friends and understanding how people worked, like the relationship side of it, and because I also am very bad around women. Mostly because like I look at them and I'm like,
an unfortunate skill to not have. A really unfortunate skill to not have. Fortunately, I am, not to toot my own horn, a little too good around women. You know, bat them away. No, I'm just kidding.
So what would be your biggest contributor to a long-lasting relationship, in your opinion? Like one of the big things that really get you to connect with people, regardless of what your internals say.
Do you mean like my relationship with my fiance, or just like in general?
Understanding women, but also understanding how people work from a I have no idea who this person is, but I want to be friends with them instead of like trying to date them or like just fit. Like a lot of the problems that when I have is whenever I talk to a woman or I look at someone, I'm like, she's beautiful. I can't talk to her because I'm going to be focused on her physicality and not her intelligence. And then there's the other side of it. It's like, oh, she's ugly. I don't mind talking to her.
This is going to sound absolutely ridiculous. Going back to college, I really never have had a problem around women. I never saw them as anything other than just like another person. So it never like really affected me that way.
They're people.
They probably shouldn't drive or vote. Cut that out, Aaron. But in all seriousness, like when I was in college, like we had to do this, like, I was in I gotta cut this out. There was this guy in college who said this thing to me one time, and I thought it was the funniest thing in the world, where it was just like, women are just like raccoons. And I was like, where is he going with this? And he was like, they're more afraid of you than you are of them. And I was like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, but it also makes a lot of sense. Like, if you put pressure on any social interaction, like, it's going to go exactly how you think it's going to go. But it's true. Like, if you go up to somebody and you just start talking, you be the one to initiate. Like, no one is comfortable in those situations. Like, you approaching a woman is not a comfortable thing for you. It's not comfortable for them. But it's like how you show up to that makes it more achievable, or whatever goal you're trying to meet, whether it be a friendship or whether it be a relationship or a partner, whatever it is. Like, it's all about how you present yourself. One of the things I'll say on that is, like, I wasn't struggling because I actually, similar to you, like, I don't necessarily need like a lot of friends. I prefer to have them, but like when I moved to Virginia, like I didn't know anybody, and I also wasn't like putting myself out there to try and meet people because I don't really care. I had jiu-jitsu, I had my hobbies, and that was good enough for me. I had my fiance, I was good. But then I started going to this UFC gym, and like they basically just said like I could come for free because they didn't have anyone that was like decent at jiu-jitsu. I don't know, really worked out for me. So I was going there for free, and I met Aaron, and I was talking to and this is a guy we train with for context.
Not me.
Yeah. I met Aaron, and he's become one of my like best friends, like if not my best friend. And it all started because he was the one to push the envelope. Like, he started talking and he started engaging, and I became such good friends with him. I was like, man, why don't I do this more with other people? Why don't I always thought it was weird, like as an adult, to like try and make friends. I was like, I got plenty of friends. Like, I don't need to make more friends. But then like you start thinking about it, you're like, man, like I actually don't have anyone here that I could just like grab a beer with or hang out with afterwards. And when Aaron took that step into my life to be like, hey, like basically like he didn't come up to me like, hey, let's be friends. But he's just started engaging with me more on like a more personal level, not so much of like, this is the only thing we talk about. We became really good friends. I kind of adopted that, mentality and brought it to other areas of my life. So when I started at XCal, I was like, I can do this with everybody and just become friends with everybody. And like, I have so many friends now because of that from XCal, because like Aaron kind of introduced that, like, hey, you can do this as an adult, and it's literally just about how you show up to it. Like, it doesn't have to be like this big like hoopla that you're like probably making it out to be in your head. Like, it's also, what's the fear of rejection? Like, you already don't have that person in your life. Like, if you go up to a guy and you're trying to be friends with him and he's like, oh, no, I don't want to grab a beer with you after, or like, no, I don't want to do your podcast. It's like, okay, well, you just go about your day.
Yeah, you haven't lost anything.
Nothing. Same thing with women. It's like, just go up and talk to them. See, like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, they're just going to be like, no. Or they're just going to be like, oh, I already have a boyfriend. It's like, all right, well, I don't care. You know, see ya.
What about boundaries? Because I think one of my problems is that I'm too much me. And I'm like too much of like, I show what most people would take like a couple of like interactions to have before they become like, they get on that personal level. For me, I just get right into it because I just crave those social interactions. So,
I mean, I think it's just, you be yourself. I mean, always, like, who cares? Like, if you're too much for somebody, then that's just not the person you want in your life. Like, at the end of the day, like, who cares? If they don't like you, then they were never meant to be in your life anyway. If they're going to judge you based off of one interaction, or they're going to judge you based off of you just being yourself, you don't want them in your life anyway. You're wasting a lot of time pretending to be something that you're not, just for them to eventually find out who you are eventually. You know what I mean? So you're cutting that step out, which is like the best thing you can do, which a lot of people don't have. And you should have confidence in that when you're going up to a girl, to be like, hey, I'm Aaron, whatever. Like, I don't know what you say from there. Like, I haven't done it in years.
I've got 10 things, but they're all racist.
What? What's your go-to pickup line? If you were
I don't have a pickup line.
Yeah,
because I'm not interested in pickups, and I'm interested in like good relationships, but stuff where I can focus on the person and not really like, oh wow, she's beautiful.
Yeah, I think the best pickup line is, hey, and then you put your hand out and like you just say your name, like, I'm so and so. That's the best pickup line. Like, no one introduces himself.
Yeah, I wouldn't, again, like you were like pickup line, I'm like, dude, I'm waiting till marriage. Yeah. I'm not trying to do anything crazy because I know my dad would kill me if I did.
What? Try and pick up a girl?
Mm-hmm. Well, pick up for stuff that I shouldn't be worried about. Yeah, not wasting my time. That's more just my family. High standards.
No, a lot of people are like that. I mean, I never really had that like conversation with my parents ever. Like,
well, my dad never said it either. He just like, well, it's just something like you expected. Like the way my family is, and I would say a lot of, I don't know, maybe Asian culture, but just the way my family is, it's like there's a certain standard you set for yourself, and you don't go below that standard, because if you do, you just become like everyone else. You just become another person in the matrix, like another person just getting the sexual gratification, or that just instant like, hey, I hooked up with this girl, look at me. No, I'm like, sure, some people got a lot of like alpha points out of that, but I don't find anything like, I'm trying to get that out of my mind to like think about that first thing. Of course, like 21-year-old sex drive is not really helping.
So for you, it's not even like a religious thing.
No, it's not religious. It's just a moral, like a
genuinely, I've never heard of anyone abstaining based off of that principle, which is, I'm not knocking it. It's just an interesting thing. I've never heard it. It's always tied in with religion. So there has to be something to it. I think there's a reason that every religion in the world pretty much says wait till marriage, right? Like,
I know this is gonna sound really like cheesy, but there's this one person on Reddit who was like, I have this great relationship with my girlfriend and we've never done anything sexual, but that's because we have such a deep emotional connection with each other that we just have the one thing, and sex is just a secondary, like, oh yeah, we do that for fun, for pleasure, whatever, but it's not the main reason why we're together.
Right.
And that's what I want, and also something that I need.
Do you find it challenging to start dating or to do any of that stuff with that in the back of your mind? Like, do you feel like that kind of like rules you out of a lot of like women in today's culture, where it's like, if you're not going to be willing to cross that line with them, then you're kind of out of luck? Because I mean, I would have trouble, especially being like, dude, the fact that you're 20 years old, like having that kind of discipline is insane to me. Like, reflecting upon things, like I talk about this with my fiance all the time. Like, if I could go back in time and wait, I might have.
You were talking about it and then you went on a tangent and then I forgot what I was going to say. Rephrase your question.
Does that, or do you feel like you are being kind of like excluded to a certain dating population because you're waiting?
I don't think so. The one thing I've noticed is that because I'm I'm not saying like everyone is going to have the same mindset as I do. Like,
Right.
I'm not saying like people are going to have fun and they're going to, play with their 20-year-olds, their young life and everything. What I find is that when I have those like, I don't want to say boundaries because I feel like that's overused in like popular culture, but
Yeah, but it's a boundary.
it just becomes like another, like once I cross that, it just becomes, there's a smaller subset of women, but I can identify them easier because I know that they're much better quality than everyone else.
Interesting.
It's like going to XCal. A lot of the times, like especially in the evenings, you'll go there, you go into the fitness area to go to Jiu-Jitsu, and you'll see all these girls.
Right.
Like, but there's a difference between a girl and a woman. A girl, you can see, the first thing you see is their butt. Why am I looking at something and not their face?
I don't know, Aaron. When I see a woman, I look right at their face. I look at their eyes because I'm not a misogynistic pig. And I'm saying that right into the microphone so that it goes on record.
They are facing away from me. I cannot look at their face. But my eyes will go at the neon
I understand. I'm just kidding.
pink, the tightest pants in the world.
They're trying to trap you. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, this is the what do they call it? There's like in advertising, there's two ways. There's like maybe not the biggest ways, but two ways to get people's attention: the appeal to the male sex drive, and then the appeal to women's need for beauty gratification or validation. Sorry, beauty validation. So at least obviously there's like more criteria, and that's not the only things. But the one thing that I notice that even the most beautiful women, like physically beautiful, if they have it in their eyes and their face and their composure, the way they hold themselves, they have a different way of going through life. You can see that instantly. Even if they're drop dead gorgeous, you can see like you can't mess with them. Like there's like nothing will get past them.
You must have some kind of like radar that I don't have because I've never noticed that.
I'm just hyper aware.
No, I mean maybe that's like a superpower you have from not doing it. Yeah, you're just like, whoa, I can sense other virgins in the room. Like, it's like a superpower.
It's not even that, and I could be wrong because I don't want to talk to them, so I don't know if I'm right or wrong.
Yeah,
but
dude, we gotta get you talking to women though. That's crazy. Like, just go up and talk to a chick.
Okay, shut up.
No,
I got stuff to do. I got things to get done.
No, but if you have a good, like, strong woman that loves you and cares about you, and is like, they'll be there for all that stuff. Like, it doesn't make life worse.
I know.
It doesn't mean you can't achieve your goals. Like, you just have a partner in that, and that's like what you should be hoping to achieve.
That's what I want. I want to get someone high quality, or better yet, be with someone who wants to become high quality.
That's true. There is a potential element where you can be like, you can recognize potential.
There's three things that women look for in men. One of the things is the future potential of being able to provide, even if they can't do it now. It's just that future potential, and
that's something I'm definitely afraid of as well, honestly.
Oh yeah, you have no potential.
No, I'm not kidding. Like, people tell me all the time what potential I have for great things. Like, my fiance being a big advocate of that. Like, she tells me all the time, like, what an amazing person like I am, but also have the potential to be for some of the more areas of life that I'm not as technical in, technology, that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? But she tells me all the time, like, but the ceiling is like, there is none for me. But then you have to live up to that. And that's kind of a hard pressure that I don't think like certain guys talk about enough, because there is that pressure for somebody like me to like live up to that standard. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out this game of life the same way that you are. And like, it's hard.
That is what she's looking at, is that you're still figuring it out.
And
of course. You're not just stagnating yourself.
100%. And I genuinely do believe that I have no ceiling. Like, I really do believe that about myself, because that's just kind of always how I've been, unfortunately. Like, it's like I said, my entire life, it has not been deserved. I'm working on that deserving portion where I feel like I have that confidence and can carry that into anything that I do. But yeah, I have to live up to that now, because I've agreed to, essentially. Like, when you ask somebody to marry you, you are saying like, hey, I have to provide I have to find a way to make it work. I can't just, ignore my responsibilities. I can't just off because I feel like it now. Like, I agreed to sign up to take care of someone and more, when you have a family, when you have kids, and like, you have to live up to that.
Yeah. There's two things that popped into my mind, kind of separate, but somewhat similar. First one is kind of just a thought that came into my mind. Stagnant water is the one that breeds all the poisons. Like algae is where it grows. You'll get like, you don't go into stagnant water. You go into free flowing water. That's where you get drinking water. It's where, or you get water and then you boil it and everything. And the other one was, have you ever seen Fiddler on the Roof?
Aaron, do you think after this conversation we've had so far that I've ever seen
I thought
Fiddler
you were
on
like
the Roof?
half intelligent.
No, I am intelligent. What do you have to be
It's basically a story of a father who has three main daughters, and each of them they start going from his life and they start marrying off and everything. When they were asking for, when the future husband was asking for the main character's permission to marry his daughter, he said that he promises that his daughter will never go hungry. He says it a lot better in the movie.
Yeah.
But essentially, like, if you can, like, I want to be able to get to the point where I can look, because I know whoever I date, whoever I marry, is going to be someone 20 times higher quality than I will ever be. Like, that's a given. That's what I hope. I'm not saying that I'm stupid. I'm saying that she has skills that I don't have, and we complement each other for that. But I want to be able to, like, look her father dead in the eyes and say she will not go hungry.
I wish I could have done that. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't think right now in my life where I could. I mean, I could say that, like, confidently, like, that'll never happen because I will die before it does. But I wish I was in a position already where I could say that, and I know that's something I have to continue to strive for. Dude, but talking to you about these women, dude, like, I'm not saying you have an unrealistic standard of, like, what a woman is or what it should be. But you put them pretty high up, like what your ideal woman is, like, so high up on this, like, imaginary totem pole. Like, do you ever feel like you're potentially overshooting? No. You just think that there's just,
I would rather be single in my entire life than choose someone who's going to make me a worse person.
I don't think the right woman could make you a worse person. But
well, no, of course not. No, she would make me a better person.
But I'm worried about your standard for it. You know what I mean? Like, because women have, like, other women have flaws too. You know?
No,
I mean?
I'm not saying she has to be perfect.
It was coming off that way.
Perfection is an illusion. Like,
yeah, of course.
I roll with Dave. I can easily see. I think, oh, I'm perfect. Nope, I know nothing. I'm not saying she has to be perfect. I'm saying that she has to be at a certain degree where I'm not trying to help her with everything, where she's not dragging me down. She's like, it's a partnership, not a liability.
I'm very invested in your love life now. I really just want to see this whole, like, fairy tale thing play out. I don't mean it like a fairy tale, like it's crazy. I mean it like, I hope that you get exactly what you're looking for. Like, I hope that it because it sounds like you have very strong convictions about it, and I hope that it happens. Like, I really do. Like, I don't think that you should spend the rest of your life single just because you can't find the person who lives up to that standard in your head. And that's the thing that I worry about, is like, what's in your head versus what's real. I hope that those two things can align.
Yeah, that comes down to, I'm not so much worried about, I don't think it's really, maybe I didn't explain it properly. It's not about quality. It's not about having someone who is already the best at what they do. Because I know a lot of the strongest women I know have relationships with either their boyfriends or their husbands that, because of that relationship, it made them stronger. Like, they don't have as many insecurities. They're able to have a smile every day, even if the world's going downhill. It's because of those other people that made them better people. And that's, I completely understand that there is the work that has to be put into it. I'm just trying to find someone who I can provide value to and they can provide value to me.
Would you be with a woman that's dated a lot of guys and not, like, also saving themselves for marriage?
It depends on what they learned from that.
Okay, that's good. That tells me a lot, because no one's perfect. No person is perfect. We all make mistakes. We all do things like that maybe we regret or whatever it may be. But I think that there's certain people in this world who, I'm not just saying you, because I've talked to other people about this, who are, like, demanding perfection that does not exist. And, like, I think if you're closed off to somebody who's like had a previous relationship and, like, again, you're waiting and maybe they didn't, like, I think to rule somebody like that out of your life is just, I don't want to say arrogant, but it's not living this life of, like, forgiveness and, like, you know, it's holding yourself maybe higher than you need to.
Kind of what I touched on earlier about, like, knowing the difference between a girl and a woman. Let's say worst case scenario, other than, like, the no-goes that I have. The people, like for me, I would never marry anyone with tattoos. Like, that's just like, I see that massive turnoff. Like as a friend, perfectly fine. I don't care.
Yeah.
Know a lot of people, wonderful people, men and women.
And again, not religious.
No. It's just I see that and I'm like,
Not for you.
no.
Interesting.
That's like there are no goes. Like there's just no compromises in my head because it's just so buried in subconsciously. It won't change now or ever. But there's also, if I meet someone because of who they are, and regardless of how their past shaped them, if they're showing me their genuine self, who they are and who they want to be, and also learning from their past mistakes, I don't really care. But if they continue to make those same mistakes and not learn from them, I'll probably figure that out in the friendship stage.
Right.
If I can't be friends with them, there's no way I can love them for the rest of their life. Because I have to accept them for who they are. And if I don't like who they are, they're not going to go any further than a friend.
How long do you like? Because you don't want to get stuck in that window of like, friend zone. Like, what is your appropriate time? Because I don't know how many women you've dated.
None.
I was gonna say it's hard to navigate that boundary of like friendship to partner, and if you wait too long, I always feel like I've heard, and I think in my own life, it's like you want to have female friends, that's fine or whatever. But if you're serious about someone or you see someone as a potential partner, it's almost better off to start off by being very clear and upfront, like, hey, I don't want to just be your friend. Because if you play that game, you could be playing that game the rest of your life. And you don't want that either. You're just teasing yourself. They're teasing you. It's just, you don't want that. So I always find it to be, or I have in my past to be like, this is what I want. I'm attracted to you.
I'm just trying to get to the barrier of talking. To just communicating, not even.
You have a podcast with Hannah on Wednesday. Are you nervous for that?
No.
Okay, because it's just like
she already has someone. Like that's like.
So if the option's there, that's when you get like nervous.
Yes, when I know there's no way, like they're so secure with their relationship, or not secure, like they have a relationship. That's it. No, not even gonna think about it. Then that's perfectly fine because I can talk to them as if like another human. But then it's like, oh, is this person gonna be someone I want to be with? That changes. But going back to what you were saying about like navigating that between friendship and having that, I'm not going to worry about that right now because I know at some point it's just going to be a feeling. Because there's one thing I have learned, which is if I really love someone, there's no reason why I should hide it.
How have you learned that?
Through a good friend, through
a good female friend that you love.
Yes.
Yeah. See what I mean?
Yeah. But that's also like she was going another path, and I was completely like my gut feeling was telling me this would never work out. Like it may work a couple months, but she has her own path, and I'm going somewhere else, and that's perfectly fine. She's a reason why this all got started. And so
one of my questions that I was going to ask you was, why did you start this podcast?
I might get into that a little bit later.
Get into it now.
So I was talking to her, and I liked her. I had a crush on her. And so I asked her if we could have lunch, just something. It wasn't like she was already seeing someone, nothing wrong with that. But that conversation that we had was the first like emotionally connected, because I didn't really understand my emotions too much. I was like, I understand logic pretty well.
No one else does. I mean, yeah, emotions are tough.
But when I had that conversation, I realized how much I was craving those connections, to have those like one-on-one interactions with people and really like understand who they are internally, but not from like both the logical and the emotional level. So when I had that conversation with her, it was like, I need to keep doing this. I need to figure out something that makes me want to talk to people, to be able to understand them, to learn from their mistakes and not to make the same mistakes again. Like just in this one, I don't even know how long we've been doing this, but just in this one little thing.
Good amount of time, yeah.
Yeah. I've referenced 3 other podcasts. And that's just because like there's good things from every single thing that I learned from someone else, and understanding their perspectives, understanding their viewpoints, but also how they got there. So it's like she was the reason why it all got started, but she's not the reason why it got sustained. So hopefully one day I'll get her on the podcast, and I really do. But there's a professional conflict of interest with what she does. So
she's also a podcaster?
No, she works for a company that it'll be like a gray zone that's like not really allowed, but maybe nothing wrong. I
have no idea if I'm safe on this podcast.
dude, I really hope she's not watching this.
Who cares? I mean, like you said, this is what we were talking about earlier. Like, who cares? Like, I mean, she is great.
Yeah. I'm not going to mention her name.
She knows who she is. She's not dumb. Women are so smart.
There's only one of her.
There's only one. There's only one. If you're a girl who's ever talked to Aaron, it's you. You're the one. You're the one he loves.
I did. And then I realized because it wasn't going to work out, I just still navigating that because it's like the emotional trauma that not that she inflicted on me, but I inflicted on myself. And that's the worst part, being like the villain of your own story. That sucks. That's happened to me so many times that everyone wants to be the hero of their own story, but then you become the victim, or not the victim, the villain. Like you've done something to someone else, or you've done something to yourself. And it's just like, holy flip.
Yeah.
What kind of person am I? And then it's like you change yourself, you become better. And that's all good, but I don't know. It's just learning to forgive myself.
That's a tough one, learning to forgive yourself. Like I made so many mistakes in my life, and like, you know, you can sit around and boohoo about it, but at the end of the day, like it's not productive for you. And eventually you just have to get to the point where you're just like, be better next time and move on. Like have a short-term memory. Like, you know, you watch football. I don't know if you do, but if you do watch football, like the best quarterbacks are the ones that can just like throw the interception, get back out there and go throw a touchdown on the next drive. Like, I used to play quarterback in high school, and the hardest thing in the world was throwing like a pick six and then having to go right back out on the field. And just, I'd be so terrified that the same thing was going to happen again. That's the hardest part about life, is like really up and then being like, get right back out there and do it again. You have to. It's life.
I used to do horseback riding, and one of the
I love horseback riding. What kind of horseback riding?
I did just dressage, but I really want to learn Western.
Okay, I only do Western.
One time I was on the horse, and instructor, she was kind of weird, but
they always are.
Yeah, but she was like just quirky. Anyway, so she was trying to get me comfortable with trotting, just to getting into the rhythm and everything.
I hate trotting.
I love cantering. Cantering is so much fun.
That's like full speed?
Galloping is full speed.
I like galloping.
I like cantering just because once you get into the rhythm, it's like the horse just goes. Galloping is really fun because you don't have to do it.
Yeah, you're just on for the ride. I used to be terrified of galloping because I was like, okay, like trotting is hard. No one told me that. Like, you go and you trot on a horse, like you're it's a pain. You feel like you're gonna fall off the whole time. And then one day, like we just decided, or the guide I've been horseback riding a lot. I've done this ride a lot. So like, I'm not an expert, but like if you gave me a horse, I could do everything you need to do to get it up and moving, and I could handle myself on horse. So the first time I was learning how to gallop though, I was terrified. I was like, oh boy, like I'm about to fall off this horse. And I was fully prepared to die that day. I was like, I'm falling. It's okay. I'm not going to wear a helmet. There's just no way. And then I was like, oh, this is the smoothest thing ever. So the next time we did that Woodstock ride that I just said was like a 4-hour long ride, something happened. It rained, and I go with my dad, and who's been horseback riding his whole life. And we had the guide, and no one else showed up because it rained. But we were the two crazy ones who were just like, whatever, rain or shine, we're going to be there. And we booked it the entire time. We galloped through the woods like it was like a scene out of a movie. It was one of the best experiences of my life. We did the whole ride in 2 hours.
There's probably a different feeling with galloping in English style versus Western, because Western is going to feel so much more comfortable.
Dude, I've done English before. Psychopaths. You guys are nuts. It's the worst way to ride a horse.
And then the worst part is dressage is where you look good. Dressage is it's like
dressage is a weird thing.
You
too.
look beautiful, but it's a pain.
How did you get into dressage?
I do no idea. Oh,
how old were you when you got into it?
Probably like 16, 17.
Damn, you got into it late in life. You got into it at a questionable age. Straight up, like, why were you doing I can't even say it. Why were you doing dressage at 15, 16?
Because when I was...
No wonder you don't talk to women. I wouldn't talk to women either if I was like, hey, I'm Aaron. I do dressage. Like, yeah, that conversation's going nowhere. Yeah. Pick up a basketball and watch how that conversation changes. They're going to be like, oh, hey, Aaron. Yeah, all right, my bad. Keep going.
There's 3 types of... at least I'm aware of, there's only 3 types of English style riding. There's hunter, jumper, and dressage. Jumper is more jumping over stuff. Dressage is more looks, and then hunter, I think, is like an in-between kind of parts of dressage, parts of jumping. So my favorite instructor, I don't know if he still teaches, but he used to teach in the Olympics. He was an Olympian, great guy, highly disciplined.
That sport's in the Olympics?
Yeah.
Dude, the Olympics is weird. The Olympics needs
Let me
to
finish
be
my story. Let's get to that. Let's get to that later.
Put that on the docket, though. I want to talk about the Olympics, and it should be banned.
We'll talk. Okay. Well, actually, this story is going to be very short. So, we're riding around, and this is like first or second class that I have with him. And he asked me, what do I want to teach, or what do I want to learn? I completely forgot the name Hunter and Jumper, so I just said Dressage because it's a name that you don't forget. And he's like, oh, no one really does that.
Odd,
It's
Brown
weird you want to do
Aaron,
that.
I'm sure it's
really good.
I'm sure there are a lot of benefits to it because it takes a lot of control to do that
Yes.
stuff. Like I'm joking about it, but I do have a respect for it because riding a horse, if you know how to ride a horse, like
you can do like anything.
Well, but it's like it's hard enough just to ride a horse. To get it to dance for you, I mean that's
I wasn't that good.
Yeah, but that's what the sport is. That's kind of what you're doing, right? Like you're trying to.
There was this one person. She had this. I don't know if it was a stallion or a quarter horse. It was a big horse, maybe like 15, 16 hands, black, beautiful, like muscular. Like you could easy boy, easy.
A big black beautiful horse. Aaron, this is the problem when it comes to women. We need to take this vocabulary out. It's the only way you're going to find that beautiful broad that you're looking for.
Anyway.
But go on. You're riding Jay. Shout out to Jay, you big, beautiful black man. You better keep that in.
I probably will.
Okay.
So it's her horse. And I was watching her I guess it was just maintenance, just making sure the horse knows what it's doing. The horse's neck was nice and curved. It was prancing about. It was like so much control, and she wasn't moving a muscle. It's so, to see it on TV is one thing. To see it in person, I'm not going to forget that. Like it's structured, it's beautiful, and there's very little effort.
Yeah, the thing that when I did the what is it? European, is that what they call it? The riding?
It's English.
Sorry. When I did the English for the first time, it was very confusing. And then I was talking to the person who was showing me how to do it, and they were like, the horse feels everything you do. So like if you're tense or if you're leaning a little bit too far to the right, like your body has to be like in perfect control. Like we talk about like gymnastics, jiu-jitsu, judo, about like balance and control and all these things all the time. Get on a horse and move a centimeter off, and you're going for a ride. Like that to me is like an insane level of discipline and routine, whatever you want to call it. Like it's one of the craziest things in the world. I know I was just talking a lot of smack about it, but it's insanely impressive.
Yeah, one of the other schools that I went to was owned by a German. Very, like comparing the two.
I feel like Germans would be good. You know how like in other sports, like it's like, okay, jiu-jitsu, Brazilians, like track, it's people from Nigeria. Like I feel like it's got to be Germans for dressage because they are just so like 9,
She owned the entire school, and you could see everything was to the nines. Like the stables were all clean, the saddles were all like polished and everything. It was obviously, it's still horse country. Like there's still like horse stuff all over the place, but like she had it like that high level discipline. And one of the things I remember her mentioning is that it was either at the end of every day or the beginning of the day, like she would wake up at like 4 a.m. and everything. She would always have to readjust the horses because like when the kids are riding, when people who are not experienced with the horses are riding, they'll start to like mess with the horse has its own mindset, and then they don't know what they're doing. So now the horse is kind of like all wonky. So she would have to go back on the horse, fix it, make sure it gets it back in shape, and then, and it's like,
that's crazy.
Yeah. And it's like the subtle little small things, but it's like the professional knows what is wrong with the horse more than the horse knows what it's doing wrong. But then the horse is also like a 1-ton piece of meat.
Dude, I mean, honestly, like people make fun of like horse people all the time. And like you hear a story like that though, and like see the dedication and the things that goes into that. And like the amount of discipline that it took to get to that point where you have to get back on the horse and fix its brain. Like it's the closest thing to this world that we have to like the Avatar like connection. You know what I'm talking about? When like the weird like tail thing that they did. Like, if I was doing that all the time, I'd be a little bit weird too. I'd be like, normal life bores me. I control a 1,000-pound beast that could just throw me in an instant, and I just spend my day controlling that. Like, that honestly, to me, sometimes when I got really into jiu-jitsu and I was, doing a lot of like the bow hunting, whatever, like very intense activity that I'm doing, like if I do it too much, I find that like the rest of the world gets a little bit boring. Like if I'm not at a barbecue, if I'm at a barbecue or something and like I'm not doing that super intense activity, it's like, what am I even doing with my day? Like, why am I here? Like, so I can only imagine what it's like to be a horse person and like have those resources and that discipline and that skill, and then just be like, the rest of the world is boring to me. Like everyone else is just, I don't care about you.
So you want to talk about the Olympics?
Yeah, dude, I think the Olympics are dumb as shit. I really do. I like the concept. I just feel like we should not fight any more wars and like only use the Olympics. But I also think it should be unanimous, like which sports are played. So like, I don't think it should be any dumb ones that no one ever plays.
Or better yet, like there's the Special Olympics, there's the regular Olympics, and then they should have like
The average Olympics.
cocaine Olympics.
No.
Like how far can the human body really go if we pumped so much into the body?
They are talking about doing the Steroid Olympics, which I'm interested in. I think that'd be a fun thing to watch, to like just watch superhuman freaks go out there and do their thing.
It's like I will pay good money to see how far can we actually run.
I think it should only be sports. This is my point. Like I think it should only be sports that everyone has played or like everyone has the capability of playing, right? So like the fact that like a kid in New York City has never done the ski shoot thing, like how can he relate that? It's not fun. It's not interesting. We should be playing like wall ball. You know what I mean? Like hopscotch.
It's gonna be like monotonous because like, oh, hopscotch, there's no real.
Well, I mean, hopscotch is a bad example. I'm just saying like things that like you would find at like a typical recess. You know what I mean? That like every country can play. Like soccer, that's a sport everybody plays. That's why it's in the Olympics. Why do we have sports that no one has ever done before? Like fencing is like on the line because it's like everyone has access to it, but no one really does it.
What would be really cool? Home Depot Olympics.
Why Home Depot?
Fencing, but not fencing. Like, how fast can you actually build a fence? What? Like, we get the best Amish people in America and see how fast can they build a barn.
The Amish have
That
done
would be insane.
some amazing things. I wish there were more Amish people in this world. I really do mean that. Like I've watched them put up barns in like 2-3 days, fully functional structures, 2-3 days, while simultaneously making the best corn dogs of all time. Like they are an incredible race of people, and it sucks that they're limited to Pennsylvania. I don't know if like they don't think they can leave. I don't know how that works. Like I don't know if they know there's things beyond Pennsylvania's walls. But we need to get more Amish people around. Like Donald Trump, how do we move the Amish people around this country to be more productive?
At the same time, it's like you take those people out of the place that made them who they are.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, you take them out of Pennsylvania, would they still be considered Amish? Because now they're like exposed to a different country, different like lifestyle.
No, I think Amish people are. What are the Amish? They're Mennonite, right? Like it's a religion. So yeah, I think you can be a religion anywhere. I don't know why it's limited to Pennsylvania. Again, I don't know what they believe. I might be offending a bunch of Amish people, but I don't have to worry about that because they don't have the internet.
Why would they be on here? Why are you on here?
Actually,
what are you doing on here?
Amish people might be the only group that you'll never be canceled by. It's actually pretty sick. You can make fun of Amish people as much as you want. I might just start taking all of my jokes and directing them towards the Amish because who's going to come after me?
The minorities? No.
No.
It's like what minority?
No. Minorities are great. We love minorities. We love women. We hate Amish. We hate the Amish. Like, because, who cares? No, I'm just kidding. I actually do love the Amish.
It's actually funny. It's funny how some people would place themselves in a category that doesn't exactly exist.
Minority.
Yeah, because it's like, what makes you a minority? There's less of us. Okay. How many of you in the world? There's less of us. Okay. It's a reflection of the world. Okay.
Is it the world though, or is it just like that geographical?
It's like some people would take on a victim mentality because someone said that they are this. They are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of groups at all. Like, I don't like anything that you're born into. Like, I just don't believe in that. Like, I just think it's silly to associate yourself with anything. Unless it's like directly affecting you because you are that minority, which I'm sure is out there. Like I can't speak to it, because I am a white man and I don't,
With a baseball cap.
I just don't subscribe to that way of thinking. I just think it's kind of a waste of time. Like, you can put your energy in anything, and if you put it into something that you can't control, like, what are you doing? Like, put it into something you can control, you'll have better results, no matter what that is. Like, groups can be great if it's self-elected.
There's genuine racism, which like people really just base people off of skin color.
Right.
But then there's also like culture.
Think about the real racism that I think is really kind of like funny in today's media is like, the thing to do is call people Nazis. Like, when they do anything that you don't like or whatever, like, immediately people are like, Nazi. Nazis aren't closeted. That's something that I feel like should go on the record. Like, real Nazis, there's no closeted Nazis. Like, Nazis aren't hiding in the closet. Like, aren't they like the proud Aryan race? Like, they're proud. They identify as Nazis. You don't have to like label anyone a Nazi because they've already done it themselves.
When people can't control other people, they'll do whatever they can to categorize it.
I like that. Write that down. That must be the 1900 milligrams of caffeine talking.
224.
I'm glad I didn't drink that one.
You had one that was 120 plus that 90.
Yeah, right. And imagine if I had 2 of those. We'd take over Pennsylvania. We'd go after those Amish. We would conquer their territory. They need direction. They need a leader.
You just got that crash.
Oh, I'm going to crash hard tonight. I'm going to sleep like a baby. I'm going to show up to Jiu-Jitsu tomorrow, and people are going to be like, are you hungover? I'm going to be like, no, I don't know what this is, but I feel like I'm on meth. I don't like it. Actually, no, it's probably meth. Meth's hypes you up, right?
I have no idea.
I mean, neither do I.
The less I know, the better. Oh, that's a drug?
You think if you knew what meth was, it might harm you?
No, if I knew what it was, now I would be like, I'm informed. I'm educated. I know what this is. I know it can't hurt me. That's not...
I'm pretty sure you don't snort meth. That's like one thing I know about meth. I'm pretty sure.
Good. It's just so stupid.
Yeah, sorry. I'm informing you about so many terrible things. Your pure heart and your bolo tie. Don't ever go hunting with me because I'm just going to try and push you as far as I can take it.
Which is how you treat yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to just stagnate.
Yeah, but I think I just get bored and I'm like, how far can I push you? You know? I don't know.
Yeah, no.
It's kind of fun.
Well, you do that with Baby Moose.
Oh, yeah. My whole goal with him is to kill him every time we roll so that one day he can kill me and then I'll quit jiu-jitsu. Like, that is the plan. Like, I want him to be the absolute best version of himself that he can be. And the only way to do that is through going 100%.
I like how you said it. You're trying to make him the best person he can be.
Oh, yeah.
And not the best person you want him to be.
I don't have any expectations for him. I just want to help him. And my role is to just give him the best version of myself. The same thing that we were talking about at the beginning of this podcast, where it was like if a lower rank isn't showing up for me, like, you're doing me a huge disservice. Like, you got to do your best. You can't just fold mentally right before it starts. And I know, like, I've talked to Bob about this too, where it's like some people just like, they don't want to try and push you, but like, it's not doing anyone a favor here. And when I'm pushing you, it means I either respect you or I think that you have potential or something like that. Sure, there are times where people just annoy me because they like are behaving or not rolling with proper etiquette, and yeah, I'll turn it up on them because they annoy me. But more often than not, if I'm pushing you, it's because you're probably a younger guy who can handle it, and it will make you better. You have plenty of time to get those reps where you can practice your elbow escape and your trap and rolls on other white belts or other blue belts or people to your skill level. But if I don't push you, you don't know what your ceiling is. Like, you don't know what it's like to really roll with somebody who's trying to kill you. And like, to me, it's like doing the biggest disservice to not try and do that to somebody. It's disrespectful. Unless, of course, it's like somebody who, again, is like way older or way smaller or whatever it is, who doesn't have that potential. And then you're just kind of being a jerk. But my coach, and this is something that also really helps me out early on in my career, whatever that means, my jiu-jitsu journey. You have to have somebody who is your skill level that you get to like compete against every single day, and you're neck and neck. And you have to have somebody who's so much better than you that you have to know where that, where you can get to. You're a look into the future. But you also have to have somebody that you can just absolutely wail on. And you need all levels of that. If you don't have all three, like, you're not going to get the best training. And of course, you're not going to have anyone that you can wail on up front. But then that new guy comes in the door, you need to be able to, that's how you practice. That's how you get better. That's how you refine. Then you compete against that next person who's next in line, who's at your skill level, and then you get destroyed. And that is the formula. And you just keep doing that until eventually you're outweighing the people who can destroy you. And that's the game. One of the other things I wanted to mention while I was on here too was one thing that I also took away from my coach down in Laurel was this idea of the beast versus the tactician. And there's two different styles of jiu-jitsu. There's two different personalities, and there's the tactician and, again, the beast. I would put Dave on the tactician side. He's so technical. He's got the fundamentals, and he knows how to apply that strategy to anyone and everyone, and he makes them pay, and he will set you up for a trap that he's 19 steps ahead with, and you just think the grapple just started. You know, like he's amazing with that. And then you have somebody like Bob, who is more of that beast, also very technical, but like he like just knows how to put that like that aggression into like a calculated move or roll or whatever it is. And you don't want to fall like too far to one side. Ideally what you want to be like through your grappling career, just like right in the middle. And I wish my coach had told me that when I was white belt, because when I was white belt, I was all the way to the beast side. Like I had no technique. Not that I wasn't being taught the technique. It was just like I was getting results just trying to destroy people. Brute force, being stronger, being bigger, whatever it was. And if I would have focused more on the technical side to try and meet right there in the middle, I would be so much better than I am right now. Since coming to XCal though, and I had that conversation with my coach in Laurel, he really pushed me to try and make that a priority.
Do you have to have the center line, or do you just have to do whatever works the best for you?
I think you have to do whatever works best for you, but you need to be able to do both. Because if you can't turn on that beast, then it's like, you know,
the technique doesn't matter.
It's not that it doesn't matter. It will prevail. Like you look at somebody like Dave. Dave doesn't need to be a beast at all, but he has it. You know what I mean? Like he could choose to turn that on whenever he wants. He just doesn't need to because he's so much better. He's got so much more technical knowledge. He's great at what he's doing, so he's going to keep doing that. But if he couldn't turn the beast on, it could be a problem. Same thing with Bob. Bob's an absolute dog. He's a killer. He's a beast. But if he didn't have the technique to back it, it wouldn't get him anywhere either. So it's like we all have the ability to go one way or the other, but your roles should be right in the middle. Does that make sense? And that's where I'm trying to get to more and more every day, is refine that technique where I'm calm, cool, and collected, but then I turn it up and then back to calm, cool, collected, turn it up. And then it's very challenging for people to deal with that style of grappling. And it's a lot more for you too as a grappler, I think, to be like, you know, I can't just be playing technical on my back the entire time when somebody else picks it up. And I can't just be mobbing people because, you know, it just doesn't work that way. Do you mind if we wrap this up?
Yeah.
It's getting a little late.
You mentioned a little bit earlier that you want to look back on this like 5 years from now. What do you want you in 5 years to know about you?
Right now?
Yeah. About who you are, or who you want to be, or who you hope to tell that person.
Keep being a dog. Just keep showing up. I don't know. I mean, I'm happy with the path that I'm on. And I hope that path continues. And I hope there's not too many hiccups along the way. Obviously, life's going to have its ups and downs. But I hope that when I look back on this in 5 years, I think I'd love to look back and be like, all right, he's the same person, but better. But the values, the goals, the personality was all consistent. It stayed consistent, and it's just been improved upon over 5 years. What I don't want to do is look back in 5 years and be like, I've completely shifted who I am. You know, like I like the direction my life's going right now, and I want to keep it that way. And you know, who knows what'll happen? Terrible things could happen. Amazing things could happen. But I hope that in 5 years I look back and go, I stuck to the plan. I had the discipline. I stuck with what my goals were, and now I'm starting to see those, you know, things blossom in my life.
Yeah, I guess that's about it.
Sick.
Thanks for being on here.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It was fun. I like doing this.
Yeah.
Let's get a third mic. Let's get Tim in here.
It's going to be pure chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. The first, not gonna lie, the first couple minutes beforehand, I was like, oh, I gotta like be on. Like I gotta be present. I gotta like, you know, not perform, because this isn't performative. But I don't want to be a dud. Like I don't want to give you bad content for your own channel and everything. So I'm just happy that I was able to
Do something.
say something. Hopefully, like hopefully people would.
I'll get 3 shorts out of this.
Perfect.
Fine.
Sick. All right, man. I'm gonna get out of this chair. Otherwise, I'll never stop talking.